Your body is speaking to you, but most of us are too busy to listen. Pain, fatigue, anxiety, tightness, none of it is random. Stay with me till the end. The last lessons will truly change your perspective and how you relate to your own life. Right now, many of you feel tired without knowing why, restless even when life looks fine on the outside. Your mind keeps running, but your body feels heavy, and no one taught us this. That the body remembers everything the mind tries to forget. Every unspoken truth, every swallowed emotion, every moment you chose silence instead of honesty. Your body has been watching and waiting. And today I want to walk with you through 7 lessons, not ideas but lived truths, an inner journey where awareness turns into freedom. Listen carefully. If you miss the last few lessons, you'll miss the heart of the transformation. There comes a moment in life when the body begins to whisper. At first it is gentle, a little tightness in the chest, a strange fatigue that rest does not fix, a discomfort that appears without a clear cause. Most people ignore it. They call it stress, they call it age, they call it just life. But what they don't realize is this: the body is beginning a conversation that the mind has been avoiding for years. From childhood, we are trained to control our expressions. Don't cry, don't be angry, be strong. Slowly, unconsciously, we learn that certain emotions are unacceptable, so we swallow them. We push them down. We smile when we want to scream. We stay silent when we want to speak. And in that moment, the mind believes the emotion is gone. But the body knows better. The body never forgets. It records everything, not in words but in sensations. Suppressed anger tightens the jaw. Unexpressed grief settles in the chest. Long-held fear curls the stomach into knots. Over time, these sensations become normal. You wake up with them. You live with them. You stop questioning them. And this is where suffering becomes chronic, not because life is cruel, but because awareness is missing. Think of the body like a river. Emotions are meant to flow through it. When you block the river, the water doesn't disappear, it stagnates. And stagnant water breeds discomfort, disease, and dullness. This is why people feel stuck in their lives. Not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack emotional movement. I once observed something very simple yet profound. When a child cries, the body releases. Tears flow, breath deepens, the system resets. But when an adult cries, they apologize, they justify, they feel ashamed. The body wants to release, but the mind interrupts. And so the emotion stays unfinished, stored. This is why the body begins to speak louder over time, first as discomfort, then as pain, then as illness. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Pain is the body's final language when subtle messages are ignored. And here is the truth many are not ready to hear. Healing does not begin with fixing the body. It begins with listening to it, sitting quietly, feeling without trying to change, observing without judgment. When you allow a sensation to exist without resistance, something miraculous happens. It starts to dissolve. Because attention is warmth, awareness is acceptance, and acceptance is medicine. Most people want quick solutions, a pill, a distraction, a shortcut. But the body does not operate on shortcuts. It operates on honesty. The moment you become honest with yourself about what hurts, what you fear, what you desire, the body relaxes because it no longer has to carry the burden alone. And listen carefully, this is just the beginning. The lessons ahead are even more powerful. Stay with us till the final points, or you'll regret missing them, because the deeper secrets are not about the body alone. They are about awakening to life itself. Your body is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be present. And when you finally listen, you realize it was guiding you home all along. Body never lies. It does not know how to pretend, how to impress, or how to deceive. The mind has learned all these tricks, but the body remains innocent. That is why it speaks in sensations instead of words. Tightness, heaviness, fatigue, pain, these are not problems, they are messages. And the tragedy of modern life is not that the body suffers, but that we no longer listen. From an early age, we are taught to trust thoughts more than feelings, logic over intuition, productivity over presence. We are praised for pushing through discomfort, ignoring exhaustion, silencing pain. Slowly, unknowingly, we develop a subtle violence toward our own bodies. We override hunger with schedules, sleep with ambition, emotions with expectations. And the body watches quietly. It cooperates for a while. But the body keeps score. Every time you forced yourself to stay where your heart wanted to leave, the body noted it. Every time you smiled while something inside you broke, the body remembered. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you were not, the body registered the lie. The mind moved on, the body did not. This is why two people can live similar lives, yet one feels alive and the other feels drained. It is not about circumstances, it is about honesty. E-body responds not to what you say, but to what you live. Have you noticed how the body reacts before the mind understands? A sudden tightness when someone enters the room, a lightness when you make a truthful decision, a heaviness when you agree to something that goes against you. These are not coincidences, this is intelligence, a deeper intelligence than thought. But we have been trained to override it. You feel tired, so you drink caffeine. You feel anxious, so you distract yourself. You feel pain, so you numb it. And every time you do this, you are telling the body your message is not important. So the body speaks louder. What began as a whisper becomes discomfort. What was discomfort becomes pain. What was pain becomes illness. Not because the body is against you, but because it is committed to your awareness. Pain is not a failure, it is a refusal to be ignored. There is a profound shift that happens when you stop asking, "How do I get rid of this feeling?" and instead ask, "What is this feeling asking of me?" In that moment, the body relaxes, because finally someone is listening. Most people think healing is about control, but healing is about relationship. The body does not want to be conquered, it wants to be understood. When you sit quietly and feel a sensation without naming it, without judging it, without rushing to fix it, something sacred happens. The sensation begins to change, not because you forced it, but because awareness dissolves what resistance keeps alive. This is why meditation works. Not because it is spiritual, but because it is honest. You stop running, you stop pretending. You sit with what is, and here is the deeper truth: the body is always in the present. It does not live in regret or anxiety. Those belong to the mind. The body only reacts to what is happening now, or to unresolved echoes of the past that were never felt fully. When you feel something completely, it completes itself. When you suppress it, it repeats. This is why the same patterns return, the same pains, the same exhaustion, the same emotional weight. Life is not punishing you, it is inviting you to finish what you avoided. If this realization touches you, stay with me. The next lessons go deeper, much deeper, because understanding that the body never lies is only the beginning. What it stores, how it speaks, and how it releases. These truths will change the way you live in your own skin. Do not rush. Do not skip. The most powerful transformations are still ahead. Now settle in. This goes deeper. What you suppress does not disappear. It waits. It waits patiently, silently inside the body like a held breath that never fully releases. Society taught you that strength means control, that maturity means silence, that emotions are inconvenient interruptions in a busy life. So you learned to push them down. Anger became politeness. Sadness became productivity. Fear became overthinking. And the mind proudly declared victory. I've moved on. But the body never agreed to that lie. Emotions are not thoughts. They are energy. They are movement. And energy that is not allowed to move turns inward. It settles into muscles, organs, posture, breath. This is why people who have never cried about a loss feel a constant weight in the chest. This is why unexpressed anger stiffens the shoulders and jaw. This is why long-term fear weakens the gut. The body becomes the warehouse of unfinished emotions. Think of a moment when you wanted to speak the truth but didn't. You felt it instantly, a tightening, a heat, a pressure. That was energy rising, asking for expression. When you swallowed it, the energy didn't vanish, it froze, and frozen energy becomes tension. Tension becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. One day you wake up and say, this is just how my body is. But it is not how your body is. It is how your life was lived. The body is incredibly loyal. It carries what you refuse to carry consciously. It absorbs the shock so the mind can continue functioning. This is why many successful people feel empty. They learned to suppress perfectly. They mastered the art of appearing fine while being disconnected inside. The body paid the price so the image could survive. Notice how children express emotions. When they are angry, they shake, cry, shout, and then it's over. Their body returns to balance naturally. But adults interrupt this natural cycle. We judge ourselves mid-emotion. We say, I shouldn't feel this way, and the moment judgment enters, the emotion stops flowing. It stays incomplete. The body stores it like an unsent letter. Years later, that same stored energy shows up as anxiety with no clear reason, as irritation over small things, as exhaustion that rest doesn't cure. People try to fix it externally, changing jobs, relationships, locations, but the weight travels with them because the body is not reacting to the present moment alone. It is reacting to accumulated history. And here is the subtle truth. The body does not store emotions to harm you. It stores them because it has no other option. When expression is unsafe, suppression becomes survival. At one time, it protected you. But what once protected you can later imprison you. Healing begins the moment you stop fighting your emotions and start allowing them, not acting them out blindly, but feeling them consciously. Sitting with anger without hurting anyone. Sitting with sadness without collapsing into stories. Sitting with fear without running. When you allow an emotion to be fully felt without resistance, it completes its cycle. Energy moves. The body exhales. This is why awareness feels uncomfortable at first. You are meeting sensations you avoided for years, but stay. Don't escape. Don't distract. The discomfort is not danger, it is thawing. Like ice melting after a long winter, many people ask, why now? Why am I feeling this after so many years? Because now you are strong enough to feel it. The body releases on, even it senses safety. And safety comes from awareness, not control. If this is resonating, do not stop here. What comes next is even more powerful, because once you understand that the body stores what you suppress, the next realization changes how you see pain itself. Most people misunderstand pain completely, and that misunderstanding keeps them suffering. Now listen slowly. This one changes everything if you truly hear it. Pain is not your enemy. It never was. Pain is not a punishment, not a flaw in your body, not bad luck. Pain is intelligence. It is the body's most honest language when whispers have failed. When you stop seeing pain as something to eliminate and start seeing it as something to understand, suffering begins to lose its grip. Most people react to pain with fear. The moment discomfort appears, the mind panics. It labels it as a problem, something that must be fixed immediately, and in that panic, we stop listening. We attack the sensation with distraction, medication, or denial. Pain gets quieter for a moment, but the message remains unheard. So it returns louder, sharper, more persistent. Think about this deeply. If pain were meaningless, evolution would have removed it. Pain exists because it protects life. It draws attention to what needs care. When you touch fire, pain teaches you instantly. When you live against your truth, pain teaches you slowly. But the purpose is the same, awareness. There is physical pain, yes, but there is also emotional and existential pain that settles into the body. A life lived under pressure without rest, a heart that keeps giving without receiving, a soul that compromises too often. The body absorbs all of this, and one day it says, enough. That moment is not betrayal, it is intervention. Have you noticed that pain often appears when you finally slow down? On vacation, on weekends, at night. When the mind relaxes, the body takes the chance to speak. During the rush, it cooperates. In stillness, it reveals. This is why people are afraid of silence. In silence, the body becomes audible. Pain is asking for something very specific. Sometimes it asks for rest, sometimes for honesty, sometimes for boundaries, sometimes for change. But because we are trained to silence pain instead of interpret it, we miss the guidance and repeat the same patterns. There is a profound difference between pain and suffering. Pain is a sensation. Suffering is resistance to that sensation. When you tense around pain, judge it, fear it, fight it, you add layers. The original message gets buried under struggle. But when you allow pain to exist without labeling it as wrong, something unexpected happens. It softens, it moves. Sometimes it even disappears, not because you forced it, but because you understood it. I once watched someone sit quietly with chronic discomfort they had carried for years. They didn't try to change it, they simply felt it, breathing into it, listening. After a long silence, tears came. No. Tea because the pain increased, but because the truth surfaced. Grief that had never been mourned. When the grief was felt, the pain changed. The body was not broken, it was holding a story. This is why rushing to fix pain can delay healing. Pain is not asking for speed, it is asking for presence. When you give it presence, it often reveals its root. And once the root is seen, the body no longer needs to shout. But this requires courage. It is easier to distract than to feel, easier to numb than to listen. Yet every time you choose awareness over avoidance, you reclaim a piece of yourself, and this is important. Pain does not mean something is wrong with you. It means something is right. It means the body is still alive, still communicating, still trying to guide you back into balance. If you think this understanding is powerful, stay with me, because the next realization is subtle yet revolutionary. It explains how the body and mind reconnect, and why one simple act can begin healing almost instantly. Do not miss the next lesson. It holds a bridge most people never learn to cross. Now we step into something quiet, but transformative. The breath is the most underestimated miracle of your life. You have been breathing since the moment you arrived here. Yet rarely have you truly met your breath. It happens automatically, so you ignore it. But what is automatic is not insignificant. It is foundational. Breath is the only function that belongs to both worlds, the conscious and the unconscious. And that is why it is the bridge. When life overwhelms you, the first thing that changes is your breath. It becomes shallow, rushed, fragmented. You don't notice it, but the body does. Shallow breath tells the nervous system one thing: danger. Even when no threat exists, the body prepares for survival. Muscles tighten, digestion slows, thoughts race. The body is not anxious because of your thoughts. Your thoughts are anxious because of your breath. Now consider the opposite. When you breathe slowly, deeply, intentionally, something ancient activates. The body receives a message: you are safe. And when the body feels safe, it begins to release what it has been holding. Tension softens, emotions rise, sensations shift. Healing starts without effort. This is why breath is so powerful. It bypasses the mind. You don't need to believe anything. You don't need to understand anything. You simply breathe and the body responds immediately. No philosophy has this kind of access. Think of moments when you felt truly present. Watching the ocean, sitting with someone you love, being completely absorbed in a simple task. In those moments, your breath was natural, deep, unforced. Presence and breath always move together. When one returns, the other follows. Most people try to calm the mind directly. They fight thoughts, they analyze, they judge, but the mind does not respond well to force. The body does. Change the breath, and the mind reorganizes itself naturally. This is not spiritual poetry, it is physiology, lived and proven in experience. Breath is also the doorway to stored emotion. When you breathe fully, areas that were held tight begin to open. Sometimes this brings relief, sometimes it brings emotion. People are surprised when tears come during deep breathing. They say nothing sad happened, but something old is leaving. The body is letting go of what it was waiting to release. This is why many avoid deep breathing unconsciously. Full breath means full feeling, and feeling means honesty. But if you stay with it, if you don't pull away, you realize something beautiful. Feelings pass, sensations move. You are not overwhelmed, you are cleansed. Breath teaches you trust. Each inhale is life entering you, each exhale is surrender. When you stop controlling the breath and start cooperating with it, you learn how to live with less resistance. The body loves rhythm. It loves gentleness. It loves consistency. Breath gives it all three. And here is a subtle truth: the way you breathe is the way you live. Rushed breath reflects a rushed life. Held breath reflects fear of letting go. Shallow breath reflects avoidance. But the beauty is this: you can change the breath at any moment, and when you do, you are choosing a new way of being right now. You don't need a retreat. You don't need years of practice. You need awareness. Even one conscious breath taken fully can interrupt years of unconscious tension. If this feels simple, don't underestimate it. Simple truths are often the most powerful. And what comes next is even deeper. Because once the body feels safe through breath, something remarkable happens. It invites honesty. Now we move into a truth that many resist because it asks for courage instead of comfort. The body begins to heal the moment you stop lying to yourself, not lying in words, lying in the way you live. The body carries the weight of every time your outer life contradicts your inner truth. You may convince the world. You may even convince your mind. But the body always knows when you are out of alignment. There is a deep exhaustion that does not come from doing too much, but from being someone you are not, from saying yes when your whole being wants to say no, from staying where your soul has already left, from performing happiness while feeling empty inside. This kind of exhaustion cannot be cured by sleep, vacations, or motivation, because it is not physical tiredness, it is existential friction. Notice how the body reacts when you tell the truth. Even a difficult truth brings relief. Your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, there is space. But when you hide, when you pretend, when you suppress your truth to maintain peace or approval, the body tightens, it braces, it prepares for a life lived against itself. Most illnesses do not begin in the body, they begin in compromise. Small compromises at first, harmless ones. Just this once. It's not that important. I'll adjust. Over time, adjustment becomes abandonment of self, and the body, loyal and silent, absorbs the cost. This is why two people can face the same stress, yet one breaks down and the other remains steady. The difference is not strength, it is congruence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in the same direction, energy flows freely. When they move in opposite directions, energy leaks. The body feels that leak as fatigue, pain, or imbalance. Honesty is not about being harsh or dramatic, it is about being accurate, feeling what you feel, admitting what you need, acknowledging what no longer fits. When you stop forcing yourself to be okay with what hurts you, the body feels respected, and respect is deeply healing. Many people fear honesty because they think it will destroy their life, but it is dishonesty that slowly destroys it, quietly, politely, from the inside. Truth may disrupt structures, but it restores vitality, and the body always chooses vitality over appearances. Have you ever noticed how the body responds when you finally make a decision you've been avoiding? Even if the decision is difficult, there is a sense of relief. That relief is not mental, it is physical, because uncertainty drains the body more than hardship. The body wants clarity, it wants direction, it wants to know where you stand. This is why chronic tension often lives in people who are nice but not authentic. They carry unspoken resentment, unexpressed needs, smiles that cost them energy. The body pays for that politeness, not because kindness is wrong, but because self-betrayal is. Healing accelerates when you align your life with your truth, even in small ways. Saying no when you mean no, resting when you are tired, speaking when silence hurts, letting go when holding on suffocates. Each honest act sends a message to the body: you don't have to protect me anymore, I will listen. And when the body receives that message, it begins to soften its defenses. Muscles relax, breath deepens, systems rebalance. Not magically, naturally, because health is not something you add. It is something that emerges when resistance ends. If this realization is stirring something inside you, stay. What comes next is even more essential, because honesty opens the door, but awareness keeps it open. Without awareness, even truth can become another concept. The next lesson reveals the most powerful medicine you already possess, and how it works quietly, patiently, without force. Do not rush past it. It may be the one thing you've been missing all along. Awareness is the greatest medicine you will ever have. Not positive thinking, not constant effort, not self-improvement. Awareness. The quiet ability to notice without immediately reacting. The moment you bring awareness to the body, healing begins. Not later, not someday, but now. Most people live mechanically. They move, speak, work, even rest without being fully there. The body becomes an object they use, not a living presence they inhabit. And what you treat as an object you cannot heal. Healing requires relationship. Awareness is that relationship. When you place attention on a sensation without trying to change it, you are offering the body something rare, non-judgmental presence. No agenda, no fixing, just seeing. And this is exactly what the body has been waiting for. Think of a child who falls and cries. If someone rushes to distract them, the crying often continues. But if someone sits close, fully present, not panicked, not dismissive, the child settles. The body works the same way. Presence soothes more deeply than solutions. Awareness. S is powerful because it interrupts unconscious patterns. When tension arises and you notice it, instead of tightening further, the cycle breaks. When emotion surfaces and you watch it, instead of suppressing it, it completes. Awareness allows the body to finish what was once interrupted. This is why meditation is not about emptying the mind. It is about inhabiting the body, feeling the feet on the ground, the breath in the chest, the sensations moving inside. The more aware you become, the less the body needs to scream. It no longer has to convert whispers into pain. Awareness also reveals something important. Many sensations are made worse by resistance. You feel discomfort, then immediately judge it. This is bad. That judgment creates fear. Fear tightens the body. Tightness intensifies the sensation. And suddenly, a small discomfort becomes overwhelming. Awareness removes the judgment, and the fear dissolves. The sensation is still there, but it is no longer multiplied. You may notice something surprising when you practice this. Sensations move, they are not fixed. What felt solid begins to pulse, warm, soften, or shift location. This movement is healing. Energy is flowing again. Awareness is not passive, it is dynamic. Another quiet gift of awareness is trust. The more you observe the body without interference, the more you realize it knows what it's doing. You don't have to micromanage it. You don't have to control every process. The body has been breathing, healing ounce, digesting food and maintaining balance long before you understood any of it. Awareness is a return to cooperation. And here is a profound truth. Awareness brings compassion naturally. When you feel your own body deeply, you stop being violent with yourself. You stop forcing. You stop demanding perfection. This compassion relaxes the nervous system in ways effort never can. Many people search endlessly for healing methods, techniques, teachers. But awareness is already with you. It requires no belief, no ideology, no system. Only willingness to be present with what is. And if you stay with this practice, something beautiful happens. The body begins to guide you. You feel when to rest, when to move, when to speak, when to be silent. Life becomes less forced, more intuitive. If this resonates, stay close, because the final realization ties everything together. It reveals why listening to the body is not just about health, but about discovering something far deeper. Do not miss the last lesson. It carries the essence of the entire journey. When you truly listen to the body, you don't just find comfort or healing, you find yourself. Beneath the layers of tension, conditioning, and habit, there is a silent intelligence guiding you. Many call it intuition. Some call it consciousness. Some call it the soul. The name does not matter. The experience does. The body is not separate from this deeper presence. It is the doorway to it. For years you may have said ki D for meaning in ideas, in goals, in achievements, in other people. But meaning is not something you chase, it is something you remember. And the body remembers before the mind does. A sense of expansion when something is right, a contraction when something is false, a quiet knowing without words. When you slow down enough to feel the body, you begin to notice this guidance. Not dramatic, not loud, subtle, a gentle pull toward truth, a soft resistance toward what is not aligned. Life becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about listening to direction. This is why people who are deeply embodied often appear calm, grounded, present. They are not special. They are listening. They trust the signals instead of overriding them. They respect fatigue as much as ambition. They honor discomfort as much as pleasure. They no longer treat the body as a tool, but as a teacher. And something remarkable happens when this shift occurs. You stop living from the neck up. You stop being trapped in endless thought. Life moves from concept to experience, from anxiety to aliveness, from control to participation. The body teaches you humility. It reminds you that you are not separate from life but an expression of it. Each breath connects you to the whole. Each sensation grounds you in now. When you are in the body, you are here. And when you are here, life opens. Many people fear listening deeply because they sense it will demand change. And they are right. The body does not negotiate with falsehood. It will guide you away from what drains you and toward what nourishes you. This may mean endings. It may mean courage, but it also brings peace. This is not about becoming perfect or enlightened. It is about becoming real, feeling fully, living honestly, responding instead of reacting. The body does not ask you to be extraordinary. It asks you to be present. And when you live this way, something subtle but profound shifts. You stop searching for purpose as an idea. Purpose reveals itself as alignment. When your actions match your inner truth, life feels meaningful without explanation. This is why the body is sacred, not because it is flawless, but because it is truthful. It is the most direct expression of your being in this world. Treat it with awareness, and it becomes a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between the personal and the universal. You don't need to escape the body to find depth. You need to enter it fully. And if you remember nothing else, remember this: happiness isn't about having everything. It's about being connected to your breath, to your sensations, to your truth. When you listen deeply, fear naturally loosens its grip. When awareness leads, life follows. Start now. Feel your body. Listen. It has been guiding you all along. When you begin to truly listen to your body, something very subtle yet deeply powerful starts to unfold. It feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something ancient. The body has always known the way long before your mind learned to analyze, compare, and doubt. Beneath the noise of thoughts, roles, and expectations, there is a quiet rhythm guiding you, and the body is its instrument. Most people live as if the body is an obstacle they must drag through life. They treat it like a machine that should perform on demand, never complain, never slow down. But the body is not a burden. It is a compass. Every sensation carries direction. Every feeling carries information. When you ignore it, life feels confusing. When you listen, clarity emerges without effort. You may notice that when you are aligned with a decision, the body feels open. Breathing becomes easier. Movements feel natural. There is less internal resistance. But when you move against your truth, even small actions feel heavy. You feel drained before you even begin. This is not weakness. it is guidance. The body is constantly nudging you toward coherence, toward a life that fits you. Listening to the body does not mean life becomes comfortable all the time. Sometimes it will guide you toward difficult truths. It may ask you to leave what is familiar. It may ask you to rest when ambition pushes you to continue. It may ask you to speak when silence feels safer. But every request is rooted in care. The body is not interested in your image. It is interested in your aliveness. As this listening deepens, something beautiful happens. You become less fragmented. You stop living in constant conflict. Law. It yourself. Decisions feel simpler because they come from a deeper place. You no longer need endless validation because your inner signals are clear. You trust yourself again, not intellectually, but physically. This trust brings a quiet confidence, not loud, not arrogant, a grounded sense that you are where you need to be, doing what you need to do, moment by moment. Even uncertainty feels manageable because you are connected. You are not floating in your head. You are rooted in your being, and slowly, without trying to be spiritual, life becomes sacred. Eating, walking, resting, breathing, all of it carries presence. The ordinary regains depth. You realize that awakening is not somewhere else. It is here, in sensation, in breath, in awareness. The body was never meant to distract you from the truth. It was meant to deliver you to it. Listen gently, live honestly, and let awareness lead. The rest will follow. As your sensitivity grows, you begin to realize that the body has never been against you. It was never creating obstacles. It was responding to pressure, to neglect, to contradiction, to a life lived too fast and felt too little. The moment you stop treating the body as something to manage and start treating it as something to listen to, quiet reconciliation begins. You start noticing small things. How your energy changes around certain people. How your body relaxes in truth and tightens in compromise. How excitement feels expansive while obligate. Ion feels heavy. These are not random sensations. They are guidance in real time. The body does not speak in concepts. It speaks in comfort and discomfort, openness and contraction. And once you learn this language, you are never truly lost again. Life becomes less about pushing and more about responding. You still act, you still grow, you still challenge yourself, but without self-violence. Effort no longer comes from fear. Discipline no longer comes from punishment. Action flows from clarity. This is a completely different way of living, and it feels lighter even when it is demanding. You may notice that the more you listen, the more patience you develop. Not forced patience, natural patience. You stop rushing healing. You stop comparing timelines. You trust that what is unfolding is not late. The body understands timing better than ambition ever will. It knows when to rest, when to move, when to wait, and when to leap. And with this trust, fear begins to loosen. Not because fear disappears, but because it no longer runs the system. Fear becomes a signal, not a commander. You feel it, acknowledge it, and still stay connected to your deeper knowing. The body helps you stay grounded even when the mind imagines catastrophe. Eventually you realize something profound. Listening to the body is listening to life itself. The same intelligence that moves your breath moves the seasons, the same rhythm that beats your heart beats in the universe. When you are embodied, you are Ali. Gen, not just with yourself but with existence. This is not a dramatic awakening. It is a gentle return, a remembering, a soft coming home to what was never missing, only ignored. You don't need to escape the world to find peace. You don't need to become someone else to be whole. You need to be here, fully, honestly, consciously. And when awareness leads, life doesn't have to shout anymore. When you begin to live with true sensitivity toward your body, life slowly rearranges itself from the inside out. Not through force, not through dramatic effort, but through a quiet realignment that feels natural, almost inevitable. At first, the change is subtle. You don't suddenly become enlightened or fearless. What changes is your relationship with experience. You stop living only in your head and start inhabiting your life fully. Most people move through the world disconnected from their bodies. They wake up already thinking, planning, worrying. The body is dragged along like luggage, while the mind races ahead. Over time, this creates an invisible split. The mind lives in stories, past regrets and future fears, while the body remains rooted in the present, absorbing the consequences of that constant tension. This split is the source of much exhaustion, confusion, and unease. When you start listening, you begin to close that gap. Listening does not mean constantly analyzing sensations or becoming obsessed with every feeling. It means allowing the body to participate in your decisions instead of silencing it. It means noticing when something drains you instead of justifying it. It means respecting signals instead of overriding them. This may sound simple, but it goes against years of conditioning. You are taught to value endurance over honesty, to admire those who push through pain, to celebrate sacrifice without questioning what is being sacrificed. The body learned early that its messages were inconvenient, so it adapted. It learned to endure, and endurance, while useful for survival, is not the same as living. As awareness deepens, you start to sense the difference between effort that comes from inspiration and effort that comes from fear. Inspired effort energizes you even when it's challenging. Fear-based effort exhausts you before you begin. The body feels the difference immediately, long before the mind admits it. You may notice how certain choices create spaciousness inside you, even if they are uncertain, and how other choices, though socially approved or logically sound, create heaviness. This heaviness is not weakness, it is information. The body is signaling misalignment. Alignment does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes honest. Honesty has a distinct feeling in the body. It feels grounded, clean. Even when emotions are intense, there is less internal conflict. You may feel sadness but not self-betrayal, fear but not fragmentation. The body can handle strong emotions when they are truthful. What it struggles with is contradiction. When you live one way while feeling another, over time, listening to the body cultivates self-trust, not the loud, confident kind often mistaken for strength, but a quiet steadiness. You stop second-guessing every decision because you have an internal reference point. You feel when something fits. You feel when it doesn't. This does not eliminate mistakes, but it reduces confusion. Even when things don't work out, you sense that you were true to yourself, and that brings peace. This self-trust changes how you relate to others. You stop over-explaining, you stop seeking constant approval, you stop abandoning your needs to maintain harmony. Boundaries become clearer, not because you are trying to be firm, but because your body reacts when they are crossed. You notice tension sooner, discomfort sooner, and instead of tolerating it indefinitely, you respond. Response is different from reaction. Reaction is unconscious. It erupts from stored tension. Response is grounded. It comes from presence. When you are embodied, responses arise naturally. You don't need to rehearse them. As this way of living stabilizes, you may notice an unexpected shift. Your pace changes. You move more deliberately. You don't rush unnecessarily. Not because you are slow, but because you are attentive. The body does not enjoy haste for its own sake. It enjoys rhythm. When you align with rhythm, stress loses its constant grip. Rest becomes restorative instead of guilty. Movement becomes joyful instead of compulsive. Eating becomes intuitive instead of controlled. Sleep deepens. Breath softens. These are not dramatic transformations, but cumulative ones. Over time, they reshape your experience of life. Another profound change occurs in how you relate to discomfort. Instead of immediately escaping it, you learn to stay curious. Curiosity creates space. Space allows sensations to move. You begin to see that many discomforts intensify only when resisted. When met with presence, they often transform on their own. This doesn't mean ignoring medical care or practical action. It means complementing action with awareness. The body responds best when it feels supported rather than dominated. Healing accelerates in environments of safety, patience, and respect. You may also notice that emotions move through you more fluidly. You feel deeply but not endlessly. Joy passes, sadness passes, anger passes. Nothing gets stuck as easily because you are not suppressing or dramatizing it. You are allowing it. The body appreciates completion. When emotions complete themselves, they do not leave residue. With this fluidity comes resilience. Not the rigid kind that pretends nothing hurts, but a flexible resilience that bends without breaking. You recover faster. You don't cling as tightly. You trust that you can meet whatever arises because you are connected to yourself. As embodiment deepens, your sense of meaning shifts. You stop searching for purpose as a distant goal. Purpose becomes something you feel moment to moment. It shows up as engagement, as presence, as care in ordinary actions. You realize that a meaningful life is not built only through achievements, but through alignment. Even mundane activities begin to feel different. Walking, washing, breathing, they carry a subtle richness. Not because you force mindfulness, but because attention naturally returns to the body. Life slows down internally, even if externally it remains active. At a certain point, you may realize that the body is not just personal, it is connected. The same intelligence that regulates your heartbeat, regulates tides and seasons. The same rhythm that governs your breath exists everywhere. When you are embodied, you feel part of something larger, not as an idea, but as an experience. This sense of connection dissolves much existential anxiety. You no longer feel like an isolated fragment struggling against life. You feel like a participant, a movement within a larger movement. Even uncertainty feels less threatening when you trust the ground beneath you. Listening to the body also reshapes how you approach growth. You stop forcing transformation, you allow it. Growth becomes organic rather than aggressive. You respect cycles. You honor rest as much as effort. You understand that expansion requires integration. You may still feel fear at times. Fear doesn't vanish, but it no longer paralyzes you. It becomes a sensation among others, not a dictator. You can feel fear and still say a present. You can feel doubt and still move forward. This is maturity, not the absence of vulnerability, but the capacity to hold it without collapse. Eventually, you understand something essential. The body was never meant to distract you from truth. It was meant to anchor you in it. The more you inhabit your body, the less lost you feel. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are grounded in experience rather than speculation. This groundedness brings humility. You stop trying to control everything. You stop demanding certainty. You become more responsive, less rigid. Life feels like a dialogue instead of a battle. And perhaps the most beautiful shift is this: you begin to feel at home, not in a place, not in a role, but in yourself. You no longer need constant escape or stimulation. Silence becomes tolerable. Stillness becomes nourishing. You discover that peace is not something you achieve. It is something you stop resisting. Living this way does not make you detached or passive. It makes you engaged without being consumed. You care, but you don't cling. You act, but you don't force. You feel, but you don't drown. The body teaches you this balance naturally if you let it. In the end, listening to the body is not about health alone, it is about integrity, about living in a way that doesn't require constant self-betrayal, about allowing life to move through you rather than against you. You don't need to become someone new to live this way. You don't need to escape your circumstances. You need to return gently, patiently to your own experience. When awareness leads, life organizes itself. When you listen, the body no longer needs to shout. And when you are present, even ordinary moments carry depth. This is not an ending. It is a way of walking forward, awake, connected, and real.